All right. Good morning. Let's get the chat up. Excellent. How's everybody doing? Who's here? But it's another very cold morning, I must admit. Hi, Scott. Hello, Graham. Is there anybody else there? Right, allow me to wake up a bit. I've literally just bounced out of bed. Gone round the room, turn the lights on, up the stairs, make the coffee, back down the stairs, obviously getting ready. And then here I am. Oh, but then I forgot to schedule the live, didn't I? Last night. That's happened a couple of times this week. Oh dear. Sorry. Sorry about the yawning. Mind you, it is a warts and all show, this. Alright, so today what are we doing? So, yesterday we did habits and environments. Today we are having a look at decisions. Making decisions. Well, firstly, in terms of your career. Hi Richie, how you doing? Happy New Year. I started flipping a coin. Actually, that's an okay way to make a decision, and I'll tell you why. So, Richie, if you haven't been following along, I've just been doing, so far in the new year, what I've been doing is I'm just doing a series of YouTube lives where I'm just talking basically about everything to do with my creative process. And I thought this would be a good thing because I keep telling everybody I want this channel to be a resource, okay? And rather than doing like lots of short videos, what I thought I'd do is just go live and talk about all the things that I think matter to me to do with my career and creative process. So all the little insights and things that I've learned along the way. And I think part of this has been inspired by the Rick Rubin book, actually, that's, I think it's just come out. So I've just pretty much nearly finished that, and it's just crazy because it's so, identical to what I do. It's just crazy. It talks about everything. So I thought, well, you know what? I should just talk about everything that how I think and what I do. And, if people want to look at these, then they're on YouTube as a live. Okay, so there's a little bit of waffle, but I try and get to the point. And then everything's fairly clearly labelled. So today's decision. So today's YouTube, rather than being called Studio Hangout or something like that, I've called it Decisions. So I'm organised. So Scott starts flipping a coin. Yeah, so flipping a coin's good, and I'll tell you why. Because the worst decision is not making a decision at all. That's the worst decision for a number of reasons. The first one is, as a professional, if you don't make a decision, somebody else will make the decision for you. In which case, you're now reactive instead of being proactive. A really important thing for me in my career was becoming proactive and just actually, in other words, manning up and taking responsibility for myself. So I personally would rather flip a coin. I've never had to flip a coin, but I'd rather flip a coin and then have that as the decision, which I agree to and then make and then do. And the other reason about doing that is that there is no bad decision as long as it's safe and nobody's going to get physically harmed, right? As long as you do something, it's the cause and effect, isn't it? At least if it doesn't go right, you'll have some data to work with, and therefore we can solve problems. And if we solve problems, ching, we make new knowledge for ourselves, and therefore we're moving forward as artists and musicians and all that kind of thing. And that's how we improve, So we just need that data, and solving problems in everything that we do. There's always going to be problems there to solve, and this is why I do wins, problems, opportunities, because that's how I evolve. That's how I move forward. It's so simple, and why I didn't do it before, I don't know. But if you had a parent that raged, decisions are an issue, they say. Yeah. So yes, indeed. So decisions are very, very important. Decisions are everything, really, in the creative process, in everything we do in life, and solving problems, and that's how we're moving forward. As I say, I always do the process of doing wins when I'm doing, and the reason I always when I'm reviewing something that I've done, it's just so I feel good about it, basically. And then the problems I write, it's always easy to write about problems, what they are, and then brainstorming opportunities, and that's all you have to do. But we just have to make a decision and actually do the thing to then see what happens. So the worst decision is not making a decision at all. So my career basically was me kind of going, right, just get really good on guitar and the world will align and everything will be like sorted. So I didn't really engage at all with anything outside of playing guitar, and that became quite difficult. I mean, I did all right as a young kid. I played in some decent bands. I had a record deal for a young. I lived the life. I didn't have to go. As soon as I left school, I never had to get a proper job. The only proper job I ever had was a glass collector when I was 15 at this like posh restaurant. My mother made me do it. She thought it would. All right, just the alarm going there. I don't know. She thought it would teach me about life or something, having a proper job and a responsibility. And she saw some of my other friends there, and they're all dressed very smartly. But don't worry, I absolutely didn't stay there very long. I made sure I was sacked. My parents had to come and pick me up. Didn't take long, about a week that lasted. And that was it, really. And I mean, I've spent my life, doing music or things related to music. So that's been really good. So that was a decision to get sacked. What was the time when you were sure when you have to choose a music career? Well, you can choose to have a music career at any point, but I suppose like when you're an adult, it's slightly different to when you're a child. I mean, I chose probably about 8 years old, very early on, that I would become a musician. And I would be a full-time musician. And that moment was watching Michael J. Fox play Johnny B. Good in Back to the Future. And I'm serious, that is like what triggered it. Because I realised I want to be like him. I want to be popular, playing guitar, shredding. That was kind of shred to me. I I wanted to have a skateboard, except I went for BMX, and I need a crazy scientist to build me stuff, and that's what my dream was. So, hi Des. So, I suppose when you're later on in life, it's like something you can transition into. You have to create a viable business, don't you? And you have to start running it. So, I mean, for me, so I have my coaching, which is all to do with our health system, the NHS, which is a job I absolutely love, super creative. And then I also have my coaching business, and I suppose teaching guitar. And the coaching, and that's 100% a viable business. I could just basically do that if I wanted. I wouldn't have to do anything else, and it would sort all the bills and be quite comfortable. So it's just building things up, isn't it? And then transitioning into them. But there's a whole process to that. And actually, it's funny you should say that, Richie, because I'm starting a new coaching group, which is basically for all the producers who want to have a go at doing music full time. So it's a little support group, and it'll help you come up with your business ideas and what you're going to do, and at least come up with a roadmap and go and do it. So yeah, I mean, so unfortunately, what I would do is I would just get, what I thought my decision was, which wasn't really a decision, which was just to get really good at guitar, and then everything would be sorted. And all I did is I just had a long career of, I mean, it wasn't all bad, but the downside of that is I was never in control of my life, sadly. And I was always not willing to take responsibility, and I wanted other people to do the decisions for me. So I would turn up and I would play guitar in your band and do a good job, and and that would be it. And I wouldn't want to do anything. I had to be told what to do. I didn't have a particularly detailed vision of what it was that I wanted, apart from I want to be rich and famous, and just want to be like a typical rock star. That was the decision. But anything to do with strategy and business or anything like that, I didn't see myself as a business. I thought business would be something that would get in the way of it. I mean, it was bizarre thinking. But you're young, aren't you? And luckily for me, music did, it provided for me, but because I was reactive to everybody else's decisions, I was never in control and not really going in the direction that I thought I would be. Having said that, my first ever band, I was very much proactive in doing, but it was all to do with the creative side, and again, nothing to do with the strategy. So there would be times when, sort of when it came to writing and the creative process, that I would be very sort of like in getting the band together and organising rehearsals and doing that. I was very sort of proactive in that early on. But then when it came to joining other bands, I was just like, what do you want me to do? What shall I do? Oh, I don't like doing that. Oh, I've got to do that now. It was that sort of thing. And so no control of my life. So that was like a rubbish decision to not make decisions. And that's what happens. And people do make decisions for you. And it's not your decision. And if you're unhappy about it, it's like, it's rubbish, isn't it? But your own fault. It was my own fault. And my career went on like that. It just went on and on and on. So like there'd be things like, all right, I know what I'll do is I'll produce for other people. And I had years of producing for other people, and I was doing all sorts of shite music I wasn't interested in. Writing just, tons of grime, loads of hip hop. I didn't, and this is a rock musician. I didn't weird pop music. So right, is this? Did you reach perfection in playing from the beginning? Oh, there's no such thing as perfection, Richie. I will have tried. I'll have thought perfection existed, and I'll have been aiming for it for sure. but saying that sometimes just good enough was good enough. I just needed to get going with something, you know. So at the end of the day, you know, you had to go out and gig whatever you were like, you know. It didn't. I mean, I think what I'm saying is, I knew that I had to be perfect, but I had to then go out and play anyway, imperfect, and I just had to accept that, really. So yes, a career of doing like pop music and things like that, just doing dance tracks with DJs and having. I mean, what was all that about? That was like people, musicians, like telling me like what to do. I mean, it was nuts. I did learn stuff. I learned to start making decisions for myself. And then one day I thought, right, I really got to start doing my own thing again. I'm like losing the plot here. And then I realised that actually now I'm totally reliant on other people and unable to stand on my own 2 feet. And at that point, I had to get a coach. So I got a coach in, and that changed absolutely everything rapidly, you know. And that's what I'm talking about on these lives, you know. I'm sharing this experience, you know. And decisions was a really big part of that change, you know. And the first thing really was, you know, just taking responsibility, being proactive at all times instead of reactive. Very important. But there's other things going on with decisions here, because there's how we use decisions in the creative process. So my first real main decision was A, to get a coach, and B, to start independently making music completely on my own. That was the first decision, and accepting that what I was going to do was going to sound terrible, and it would take a while to sort of get a style going and to click with things. And, you know, I think the first sort of 6 months, I'd found a style, and luckily I'd got like a publisher, which added a lot of motivation, which I was talking about yesterday. I had something to focus on. But the creative process was very clunky, and I didn't really understand what was going on. You know, I'd have a good day and a bad day, and I didn't know what was happening. Some days, you know, you'd be in the studio and I'd be really overthinking everything and struggling. Other days it would just all fly out, like no bother at all. Other days, a bit of both, okay. But this whole thing was very, very random. And then I found out a little bit more about what is going on there. And what it is in our decisions, we have insight and we have analysis, okay. And when we look at the music machine, actually I just should get that up. The machine is all about helping you have your music sessions so they're more insightful. Okay, so for me, whenever you're talking to me about my music sessions and you're watching me, I try to make it as close as a performance as I possibly can. How do you analyse criticising your playing when you are playing alone? It seems to figure out the flaws in others playing rather... Oh, hi there, Tim. Hold on. It seems to figure out flaws in others playing rather than yours. Okay. How do you analyse, criticise your playing when you are playing alone? Well, you just become aware of mistakes. It's an interesting one, that. So this is more, that's more an awareness thing. So what I find is I will play something that I can't play, and I'll practice it, and then it becomes second nature, and you can play it, and you feel good, and you feel great about your playing, and your overall playing's like working really well for you. And it's as if you haven't, I mean, there's the odd sort of mistake and things like that, but you're generally on a high, aren't you? And then what will happen is you'll realise that the things you're playing you can't quite play as well, and then you have this dip, and I think a lot of that dip is to do with the fact that you become aware of more problems. So I think when I'm practicing and I'm looking for things to practice within things that I think I'm quite good at, a lot of it's observation. And when you become aware of that observation, you realise that actually there's a problem area. And then, unfortunately, what can happen is our brains will read that as something bad, and then you get that horrible feeling of like, oh no, I can't play guitar. I don't know what I was doing. I was good the other day. Now I'm like really rubbish. And then we read that as a negative thing, and that's not true. At the end of the day, whatever we're doing, whatever we're playing, it's something that exists outside of our body. If it exists out of our body, it's not really us. But we can use that data, and we can learn from it, and we can create a new practice regime. So now, when that dip happens, I tend to get excited about it because it gives me a new focus on what I'm doing. So, I mean, I get it all the time. The one that I particularly remember being a nasty sort of dip was the movement in this third finger. So I think like when you're bending your fingers, really, the movement on that third finger is a lot nastier. It's more uncomfortable than the others. These two are great, but then fourth's pretty good. But on the third, and I thought there was something wrong with my third finger, to be honest. I thought oh, have I been, what's wrong? And then it was pointed out it's just to do with like how the muscles, how it's all kind of linked together. But I became aware of that, and after I got over the initial panic, and I thought, oh, hold on, I know exactly what I need to do to overcome this. And sure enough, I worked on it, and it's a lot better now, and my overall playing has improved. So I can guarantee, when you find something wrong with your playing, that get excited about it. Yeah, so here's Des. It happens to all of us. Des, I do get that too. When I get a bad day, I'm convinced I've been shit all along. The next day, I'm fine. It is weird, and it's an awareness thing. I'm sure of it. Observation. In fact, in a Game of Music book, it does say as part of your practice regime, when there is a problem with an area, locate the area and just play through it. Play fast, play slow, play hard, play soft, and just observe. And your brain kind of at a lower level will fix it subconsciously. It's quite good. But yes, Des has hit that feeling, that nail on the head. It's a good question. Keep the questions coming. So, hi Tim, Enzo. Hi Tim, I still need to finish setting up my Mac that I said I should download. I said I should download. Download Trello. Download Trello. Yeah, and set the machine up. Okay, and then Enzo, I used to call the pinky salute to my students. I'm also reading it in a Game of Music right now, and I'm picking up a lot more the second time round. Brilliant. Yeah, it's great. So I've come back to it a few times. It's I think chapter 5 is my favourite one. But I'm really loving the Rick Rubin book, which I've nearly finished, But actually, I'm gonna. It's become the Bible for me now. So I've ordered a hard copy, a physical one. So I've got it in the car. I listen to it in the car, and I've got the. I'm getting the main book. So the book will be good to have that on the live. It's going to be a prop. You see, I'll be able to when we're talking. We'll be able to reference literature. We'll be able to say, right, Rick Rubin said this. Well, what he's, it'd be good. I'll have a book to reference. How do you separate backing track from a song? I don't do that. There's probably some. I know there's like stuff on internet that does that for you, and you just stick it in. If you're talking about just getting somebody else's instrument and pulling the vocals out, then so you've got an instrumental. There's a site. There is something online that'll do that. Other than that, if you're just doing your own original song, you can just mute your vocals and bounce the music out. Pinky says, right. pinky salute is referring to the pinky sticking out constantly on the guitar. If you know what I mean. Which Rick Rubin book? Rick Rubin book? It is the Art of Being. Creative something or other. Yeah. It's the grey cover with the circle on it. That's the one I've got. Absolutely brilliant. So, decisions, insight and analysis. How can we use this in the studio, in our creativity? Well, this is where things really took, I really noticed a massive difference in my productivity. So, we have analysis. So, when we're trying to think of we might be doing a track and then we'll become stuck on it, okay? Something will be, and we don't know what to do, and we reach the impasse, and what we'll do is we'll try and brainstorm ways to get out of it, and we'll be analytically trying to work out what that problem is. All right. And what can happen is we're just stuck and we reach what's called the impasse, so nothing's happening, and then at that point you just have to really give up and think, right, I'll just move on to something else. And then what will happen, you might go for a walk, you might have a bath, you'll have the eureka moment, and this happens to me all of the time. And this is like one of the first things that happened, and I thought, it was like amazing, right? Because I used to have this all the time, so I'd be working on the problem, and then suddenly I'd be doing something else, right, outside of the studio, and then the idea would pop into my head and I'd get really excited about, right, I've got the idea. But the only problem would be is I would be basically out doing shopping with the missus or something else, right? And not in the studio and not being able to get to that idea. I mean, this is part of why I got a laptop, and then so I could walk about, I could just do the idea there and then. But what I would do is rush back to the studio and go, right, I've got the idea. And then I would, as soon as I'd sit down, switch the computer on, the kind of excitement of doing the idea and the feeling would just drain away. And then I'd be almost like back to square one. And I'd be like, and like when I thought of the idea that was so great, the excitement was gone. And when I was doing my first master's, which was all just being analytical and doing very little and then suddenly doing something, I would have like these amazing euphoric moments of insight. This is brilliant. This is a great idea. And then when it came to actually doing the idea, that excitement and feeling would go. And I'd have... Yeah, it would happen all the time. Think, this is an amazing idea. I can't wait to tell everybody about this. And I'll get to telling to somebody and I'll think, hold on a minute. It's not a very good idea. They'll think I'm mad. So that whole exciting feeling would just evaporate. And then I wouldn't do it. So then I found out, right, this is insight. Okay, what's insight? Well, insight comes from the phase of analysis. So when you're working on a problem, okay, and even if you think you come up with a solution that you can use, what will happen is later on your brain's still working. And I talk a lot about like subconscious. Subconsciously, our brain makes decisions for us in the background that we're not conscious of. There'll be decision making going on in the background that we're unaware of, and then suddenly one of those ideas in relation to the problem you're solving will pop into the conscious. And then it'd be like, right, okay, that's amazing. And they get all excited, all right? And then, I near your studio and you can't do it. So then it doesn't get done. You don't get that feeling. So the first thing you got to do is when insight happens, right, is immediately write down what it is, right? And just make a point of doing that thing, all right? Do you believe in distraction, or do you think motivation keeps you going? Distraction is just an excuse. No. It's kind of two different things, really. So unfortunately, we kind of we live in this like social media world, which is all about scrolling and distractions, isn't it? And this is a play between two areas of our brain. By the way, I'm not like a brain surgeon here, but anyway, the way I learned about it to help me in the studio, to help me do what I'm doing creatively, is we have an old brain and we have a new brain. And new brain, the prefrontal cortex, is the brain that we're using to actually learn new things. It's our analytical part of our brain. It's the thinking part of the brain. But unfortunately, it gets tired very, very easily, and it's very, very easily distracted. The older brain, which has been there a lot longer developed, is much more power efficient and quicker thinking. Okay, and it's really good for habits and just doing anything that's like subconscious that we don't have to think about. Okay, and it loves distractions all the time. It's like it's scanning for potential threats, and this is like from when we were running about the forests hunting and what have you. So our brain loves distractions, and as soon as the old brain gets a distraction, it kind of like gives the front prefrontal brain a bit of a nudge and saying, you got to pay attention to this. And in the modern world today, everything is like a jungle, isn't it? It's distractions all the time. And unfortunately, when we get distracted, too many times, that's it. We just become hungry for distractions all day long, and that's when you feel that like, okay, right, I'll sit in the studio, I'll have a quick look on YouTube, get some motivation, and you watch one video, then you watch another, and then you feel like you can't get back to your session, or you can't then concentrate on it, and then you keep going back to social media and stuff like that. It's because you're done at that point. You just all you're wanting is distractions. Then it becomes really difficult to get back into flow. On a previous live, I did mention that office workers distracted by an email for 5 minutes, which technically, when you read and answer an email, it's a fight or flight response, and that's extremely distracting. So a 5-minute email could take up to 25 minutes to 30 minutes to get back to where they were when they were in flow. Okay, so every hour, if you could think of it, potentially for a 5-minute email, 5-minute distraction, you're losing 25 minutes of time, which is loads, isn't it? So it's not like a belief, it's just like these things happen, don't they? You would just, we are distracted. Distractions are there to keep us alive, aren't they? Because back in the day, it was either if an animal was going to jump on us and eat us, we needed to know, didn't we? So we had to be distracted to give something our attention. It'd be no good if I was in a forest doing whatever I was doing. I don't know, what would I be doing in a forest in very early days? I might be trying to, I'll be playing my log drum, right? It's no good me just being fully focused on the log drum and ignoring what's going on in a bush somewhere, because that could be like a saber-toothed tiger or something like that about to eat me. So I need to be distracted. So it's a thing, distractions, and we're still like that now. But it's much more safer. Nothing's going to eat you. All right, question. My daughter is a graphic designer. Do you think Rubin book would be benefit her? Absolutely. So the Rick Rubin book goes creatively across the entire board, and she would get lots and lots of insights. Although he cites musicians, it's not all the time. He talks about other, writers, artists, visual artists. So that book would be perfect. In fact, all the books that I pretty much mention, she would get something from. And everything that I talk about is pretty much, when I'm talking about a situation, I'll relate it to music because I'm a musician. But fundamentally, when I'm talking about things like the automatic music making machine, and I'm talking about the creative process, divergent, convergent thinking, it's across the board. So interesting enough, Tim, my master's ended up, so I ended up this hybrid So I did like a master's in like music fine art, and I was interested in visual concepts and moving them into music. So I was interested in things outside of the traditional way that you'd learn music, really, and expressing myself in different and wonderful, weird ways. And it was an amazing thing because I really needed it. Okay, and also the points you're making are things that I try to apply in every area of my daily route. That's brilliant. TV shows are the devils of distraction. I can't like watch a straight TV show. I have got Netflix and I do watch the odd series when I'm practicing guitar. I'll practice guitar and I'll have it on, but it's like not all the time. Yeah, I may send it to her. Thank you for telling us about it. Yeah, no problem. Oh, she grew up playing viola in Augusta, like I did, and plays piano as well. So does my daughter. My daughter does violin, and she does violin. She was in the choir. She's a qualified chorister, actually, and she plays piano. Richie, I saw a JP interview. He said that he used to listen to certain sections of vinyl once and tried to play it by memory. Were you the same? Oh. Yes, so, yeah, I mean, like, I used to... records and tape machines were my life when I was younger. So, I'd get... I'd have my tape of, like, Racer X live, and I would just fast forward and rewind and try and learn as much as I could of it. So it was great ear training back then because there was no YouTube and nothing like that. You had to just use your imagination and your ears to work it out and apply the knowledge that your teacher was teaching you. So it was a great way to learn. Like this wasn't given to you on a silver plate. The good thing about this is you had to be able to apply what you were learning in your lesson to this real life scenario of learning a piece of music. So great for applying theory and great for applying your ears and brain to the whole thing. So, and I'm really glad of that I didn't actually have any internet, to be fair, because I had to use what was important, my brain and my ears. And because I was getting things wrong as well, it meant I kind of developed my own style, thinking I was getting something right. Oh, yeah. So so I had loads of REH videos. Yeah, Vinnie Moore, all that kind of stuff. Brilliant. All right, tab books were barely a thing back in my day, let alone YouTube, so I had to use my ears. I'm so grateful for that. Absolutely. And tab books were, incredibly unreliable. I don't think the Joe Satriani Surfing with the Alien one was, like, right at all. Yeah, so, I mean, I was lucky because I ended up with, like, loads of teachers. In fact, I had one of my teachers was the same as Thomas's, Wild Bill. I went to Wild Bill for a number of years, on and off through my early days. And I had a classical guitar teacher. I had another guy called Jamie, who used to teach me, and I had this really cool guy who used to teach me shred. It was amazing. So I was getting like 3 teachers a week. It was really good, but all I did was play and do anything else. Right, you see there, good ear practice. Wolf Marshall. When I was very little, I went to see Wolf Marshall playing Kiss at the City Hall. How did I meet Thomas? Oh, I've known Thomas for years and years and years. I met him. It was in a studio in Newcastle. and he was in finishing one of his he was finishing his album, wasn't he? That's 95. I wonder if it was his 95 one. So I kind of knew him from then, and I used to just see him all the time in town and like in his shop and all that. And then so I just known him for years. So that's going way back, like early 90s, through to now. So I must have known him about. It's a scary amount of time, actually. Like more than 20 or 25 years, something ridiculous. It's a long time. We've been friends. And interesting enough, he was like starting to like write his new sort of solo stuff as I was getting signed to Two Dutch. And we used to talk about that quite a bit, the trials and tribulations of being an independent artist and being proactive about your career. And then just he suggested a few times that we should do something, and then it was right when I was just starting on the development of the music making machine that I thought, oh well, actually just doing some totally different music from dance would be a good way to test it all out. So I just started, and the rest is history. Yeah, very young. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's good to have your musical mentor and you know, to be in a group of people to learn from. Like mine, it's brilliant, you know. That's why I love these streams and talking to you guys as well, because I get so much stuff from it. So decisions, yes. So how So how can we get insight and analysis to work for us? And this is what we do, okay? So analysis, a lot of that comes from, in fact, all of it comes from what we call the editor or self one. Now, a lot of the time I'm beating self one up in the studio because it's not very, very helpful. It's telling us to do things, right? And part of that is because it's trying to protect us from situations. So when we're playing an instrument or we're in a live situation, the editor can get in the way. It can say, right, you know, things like, oh, right, you don't want to be playing that, you want to be playing this. Right, okay, yeah, you've done that now. Every time you play a chord, you need to do a solo. No, not that solo, you need to be playing, and this kind of dialogues going on of random editor stuff telling you what to do. And the problem with that is if we're in any performance situation, and I include this in the studio, and we're making music, we start noticing those thoughts and getting on board with those thoughts, okay? And when we do that, that's when we lose it. That's when you're doing an improvisation, it all goes completely wrong because you're lost in your thoughts and you're now not listening to the music. So the music is always boss, and as I always say, the older I'm getting, the more spiritual music's becoming. So the more I try and notice what the music is, and more so what it's trying to tell me what to do. And it sounds a bit woo, but that's how it is. And when I do that, I perform to my best, okay? In other words, what I'm doing is I'm trying to just put the editor to one side, and I'm trying to be as insightful as I possibly can in the moment. But the editor is absolutely vital when we're making music. So the Wins, Problems and Opportunities is a moment for the editor to have his, her say. All right. So when we look at the machine, this is all the editor. This is where the editor lives, you see. He's like organising all my sketchbook, the splurges, the discovery sessions, you know, we click on things, all right? Like, oh, I'm clicking on the wrong thing here. When we, all right, I'm over here on it, right. So when I click on something outside of the studio, except it's not bringing my list up. Why is that? 2 seconds. There we go. Right, will it work now? There we go. So, you know, this whole list, right, wasn't done in a studio session when I was meant to be making music. This checklist was done outside of the studio. So usually what happens is I'll do a studio session. At the end of the studio session where I'll be making my music, no matter what I've got, I bounce it out and then I put it into a Trello card to basically have an opinion on later. And that opinion is going to be the editor's opinion. All right. This is where it gets interesting, you see. So, and when I listen to that music, I'll usually, unless I'm on a live and I'm demonstrating, I'll always listen to it outside of the studio. So, wherever that is, after I've finished my lunch, usually lying in bed the night before. I'll listen to the music, direct listen. I won't make any notes while I'm listening. I'll stop the music and then I'll start making a list of things that I think I should be doing. Okay? When I make that list, though, as I try and be as concrete binary as I can, so it has to be things that aren't variable, that are things that are yes, no answers. And I try and stick to that throughout. So even in the divergent phase, I'll try and have yes, no answers as much as I possibly can. I know this sounds like it's killing creativity, but it doesn't. I can assure you that. But what it does do is the editor gives you a very accurate starting point. Okay, and remember, insight hasn't gone yet. Insight's lurking in the back of this. So in other words, when I'm doing this listening session, I'm being analytical. I'm coming up with a list of actions to solve the problems of what I'm actually hearing at the time. And that's either adding new parts, adding new, melodies. It could be all of that wonderful creative stuff. But these are concrete binary actions that I'm trying to aim for. So I've got things like, this is at the end of the process, bounce loop to audio and cut ring spill of the kick, right? So the kick was spilling over something. And that's like pretty accurate. It's like a yes or no, isn't it? Try 4x4 kicks. That's very, I know exactly what that is. Whereas like a list of, an action list would be that you wouldn't want is sort the groove out. So if you say something like sort the groove out and I handed that to somebody else, they wouldn't really know like what I'm on about. Like, where do I sort the groove out? What do you mean sorting the groove out? But sorting the groove out could be, go for a 4-4 dance kick. It could be swing the hi-hats, the 16th hi-hats by about 10%. It could be. So these are all concrete binary things. So when we go in the studio, we've got a list of things that's a very, very accurate starting point. And as soon as you start, you've got stuff. And that's really important because that's going to get you into flow really, really quickly. So that's when we use the editor outside of the studio, not inside of the studio. Whatever you do, don't use that editor inside of the studio because he'll just take over and absolutely wreck everything. He's out. He's not allowed in here, right? But absolutely wonderful outside of the studio when you're doing problem solving on your track. Trust me on this, all right? So the editor gives us our list. He stays in his office and you go to your studio and you just start doing the first thing on the list. Or if you get really good at your list making, you can do this. You look at your list and you can pick out the thing, and this is what I would suggest you do, is almost like Eisenhower matrix. Look that up because that's the system I sort of use in my head all the time. But basically what I'm looking for is when I come up with a series of things from the editor, I'm looking for actions that are going to have the most impact for the listener that are the least effort for me. I know this sounds like lazy, but why would I want to do anything, right, that's maximum impact, that's like no impact or little impact, that's like high effort? So anything that's that, just cross off and don't even bother. Now what you'll find is if you're going for the high impact for the listener, low effort for you stuff all the time, and you prioritise that, A, your session's going to go well, and B, doing those actions usually means that anything that's of low priority, in other words, massive effort for you and no difference for the listener, those things won't exist anymore. So the smaller problems will they'll just evaporate and not exist anymore, or you just won't even need to do them because you'll not even notice. It's like detail you won't even notice. So you can prioritize those lists. Now, this stuff comes from analysis, and remember what I was saying before, that our brain is still working on the problem. Now, inevitably, what you'll find is, and I call this the momentum routine, right? So what I would do is I'd have my list and I'd have my 3 things that I'm going to prioritize. Or I might just write 3 actions down and just limit it to that. And then what I would do is I'd do the first thing on the list, and I can guarantee other ideas will come flying into your head. And this is insight, because the brain's still working on the problem. So now we've caused insight. So what you have to do, right, is be absolutely ruthless on this, is everything that comes into your head, try to do. So you do your first thing on the list, other ideas come in. If you're frightened of forgetting them, quickly write them down, but then do those actions and keep doing them. And eventually, what you can do is, all right, Tim, are you heading off? All right. Good night. Okay, good night. Have a nice sleep. So you know, insight happens, and you're doing all of these ideas. You have to act on all these ideas, right? Because your list is just like a safety net, really. If one of these insightful ideas doesn't work, right, an important thing is don't get on board with it. Don't try and make it work. Don't grind your session down on making an insightful idea work. If it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. There's plenty of ideas. Just bin it and basically go to the next thing on your list. Do the next thing on your list, and then more insight will happen. Do all of those insightful ideas. Some will work, some won't work, but just try them out. Work as fast as you possibly can. When those insightful ideas run out, go to the third thing on your list. Do that. More insightful ideas will happen. Do those insightful ideas, right? And that's the end of your session. And you just keep working like that. If you've got a big list of things, I mean, I used to like, early on, I used to like just having 3 things on a list and doing it that way. But like now, I'll just have a long list of whatever I can remember without over listening to a piece of music, and then work on those. And that works absolutely really well when you've got your list and you go in the studio. It's brilliant, because inevitably, even though you've got a list of very concrete actions, and that doesn't sound very creative or even stifling creativity, it's not. It's promoting it. It's priming the subconscious to throw lots of things into the conscious, which you can then work on to then throw out into the world and create even more insight and more actions and more work for the editor to do. So in short, insight and analysis outside of the studio, insight inside of the studio. Insight is flow. It's making decisions almost unconsciously and just doing things. Okay. The analysis part is the thinking, problem-solving bit that's not performance-based. And that's how I roll with it. And that is decisions, insight, and analysis. Right, now, does anybody want to ask me any questions on this? But obviously, running something like the machine is all about having that editor to work effectively, to record things, to give it an environment to work in outside of the studio that's going to massively help me inside of the studio at all areas of the creative process, all the way from divergent, woohoo, thinking like everything's possible in the whole world, right through to now I have an idea and now I need to finish it. Basically, that editor has a lovely working environment and is very happy as just can't come in the studio. It's not allowed to come in the studio. Well, I'll just chill out with my coffee for a bit. What's the first thing I do when I sit down with a new project, right? So if it doesn't exist, the first thing I do is to just splurge something. And that could be a number of things. It could be that I've already got an idea that I've thought of, like a little melody or something. It could be, I might have a little story sometimes, like writing. I had a phase of where I would write little short stories. But I'd time 5 minutes and I'd write a 5-minute story, and then I would try and with a tiny little beginning, middle and end, if I could. And then what I would do is I would analyse the journey of the character or something like that through this story and how they felt, and I'll try and do that, splurge that in music. So that was one thing. Sometimes you can have, as you know, Ed Sheeran's Shape of You was the structure for most of Riding Out. So you can splurge into structure. So there's like lots of ways you can start. Then there's just starting and having a jam. Whoa, what's this? And the whole thing's just a wonderful thing of discovery. So that's how I start. That's the first thing I do when I start a project, is I just start writing. And the other thing I do is I make sure I do not worry about quality. There is no quality judgment whatsoever. And honestly, this is a thing that you've got to practice. It's so easy to get trapped into quality early on in a project, but fundamentally all you're trying to do is record everything to a point where you know what it is and you're fairly comfortable with it. What is the point in perfecting anything when you don't know what the idea is? So I don't like to invest time in that. So if I'm playing guitar, if there's the odd little mistake and stuff like that, I'm fine, I'll just leave it, because what I'm doing is I'm just trying to get through the machine, get to draft and get something into done. Okay, because I know when I get to release, as well as obviously doing the obvious mixing things, is that I'm going to re-record all of those parts. Anything I'm not comfortable with, I'll re-record, but at least I'll know exactly what the blueprint is, what the roadmap is in terms of finishing that track. So I don't really want to be perfecting a solo early on in the process, or like rhythm guitar part or anything like that, when I may not release the track. So my decision on whether to release something or not isn't based on like how well it's played, because there's a lot of really well played awful music, isn't there? And there's a lot of really well produced mixed electronic music that's absolutely awful. So the quality judgment's a bit different. It's not, I'm avoiding the quality of how the parts play it, how it sounds. And the quality I want is the quality of idea. That's what I want. I want the unexpected to happen. I want interesting things. I want things that are off the key, things that I wouldn't normally think of, And to do that, we just have to let go, and we have to write as much little ideas as we can and then pick the best ones. It's not like picking the best ones, it's picking the ones that interest you, because we're writing music for ourselves, not for the world, not to be popular, not to get signed to a label, which I used to do, label whoring. We're not doing any of that. What we are doing is we are writing music for ourselves. And especially, when you're playing guitar, it's a super expressive instrument. It has to be about, it has to be about your thoughts and emotions, doesn't it? So, yes. So just sort of the last however many months, I started a new template, still based on Beats Plus 3, and it's all about guitar. So I thought you might have seen this. So it's almost like use Ableton like a live looper in a way. It's a little bit clunky, but it works. Like all my ideas now start on guitar and some basic drums. So I've done a ton of ideas which are all sitting in done. Actually, I've made in release now. So I've got like a ton of stuff to actually finish. All right, and so let's have a look. Basically, what I've got is I'll not talk about any of the sort of mixy kind of stuff, but let's see. Right, so I've got an MC. I've got this, right? So the MC Pro 6, and on it I can move the computer cursor about, the cursor keys, because you can have key commands on your computer with it. So I can move left, right, up and down on this grid. So if I highlight where the bass is, okay, and then I can go along. Now you'll notice this is programmed to, basically, when I click on a track, it arms the track. And when I click to the next track, it disarms the track and arms the next one. So that's pretty cool. And then I can just flick to different slots. So if I was just doing, say, this clean guitar part, I could record very quickly multiple ideas going down on a track. And then that's how you do it, but you can only move like across, you can't jump to tracks. At least I haven't worked out how you do that. I don't think there is a way. So that's what that does. And then all it has is a record. Okay. And an undo. So if I press record again, that'll stop the recording in time. And then if I want to undo it, I just push undo and it disappears. So that works really good. And then and it's just simple, and that's all that is. And then I've just got loads of polychrome in this project, so it's all polychrome. Probably a bit overkill, but I've got a few options on there. It's pretty much my live setup plus some other things. So there are some sort of like quite unique instruments to me. So I've got things like the guitar bass where I can play like a guitar and bass at the same time. Very vibey, just a very standard bass there. Dream sort of sound that's just like for doing pads and stuff, as if I was doing a keyboardy kind of thing. Clean delay, clean dirt, pretty self-explanatory. Low gain, never really use that, I don't know why it's there. I've got the heavy octave, which is just my lead channel with an octave higher, and then it's got like a wide chorus on it, which is like, that's a bit like, I think that when I'm that's sort of a replacement. Well, it's not really a replacement, but it's like for doing my synth melody type lines, but on guitar. Typical shred, crash guitar, and then I've got the synth lead, which is Rabia's Neural DSP, just the synth and nothing else, going into polychrome. And then I've stuck a few synth options in actually. So I've got, to keep it simple, Juno. Is it the Juno? Oh no, I've got Diva in there. It should actually be the 101. So I've got Diva in for a change for some reason, but I've got the Tal Juno 106, dead easy to use. And then I've got some inspiration stuff, vocal stabs, which is very much part of my adding those vocals in. You know, really puts things in a cool place, I find. Textures, which I always have, and then inspiration. But you can just move about everything with that. It's a little bit clunky, like sometimes if you click anywhere on anything else on the screen, then it stops working and you have to kind of click back. But it works. So that's what I do there to try and kind of keep the flow going, you know. So your writing sessions, that initial splurge kind of stuff can happen very, very quickly, you know. And then obviously I'm using XO because I can build kits really, really quickly on it. And also I have a library of like different drum kits that I've got, so I can quickly flick through, find presets that I've done and just use those as a starting point for inspiration as well, if I want. So it's great, and it's just a great environment to be in because you can practice your guitar in this environment, and then suddenly if like an idea happens, you're set up. It's ready to go, isn't it? And you can literally be practicing 1 minute and then you've got a whole backing track the next without even thinking about it. More fun than a metronome as well. Any other questions on decisions, analysis, and insight? I'm hoping this will all fit in the cup. Oh no, it's not, is it? Yeah, it's a good investment. Yeah. Richie, it's like it's a job. Like every day I get to do music. My music day is like insane. So my schedule today is get up, talk to you guys, impart some knowledge, or it's getting up and doing some music and everybody watching and getting insights from that and trying to develop this channel in whatever crazy way I think I'm doing. That's the first thing I do. And then basically I go off to the regular job, which is music. I'm a therapeutic musician, so I work with people with autism, mental health, addictions, personality disorders. So I use music to help people get well, and I do that, and that's a super creative job. I get to shred. I have like a whole studio that I take with me. I get to do music production, and I get to just be like super creative. It's brilliant, and it's a great way to keep my skills practiced, because you have to be on the top of everything. It's brilliant. So I do that. So I mean, like today, I'll do at least, it's not so bad today, but I'll do at least an hour like playing, like as if it was alive or something this morning, and I'll probably do that again in the afternoon. And then the other 5 hours I've got will be spent probably making music. So it's an excellent thing to do. It keeps your skills sharp. And then when I come home, I do more music. So I'm working on some new material, some new like song stuff with my other half Sharon at the minute, as well as doing my other splurgy activities. So it's just full on, and that is pretty much. I don't really have a day off, actually, to be fair. Even on my day off, I'm practicing guitar or something like that. But I'd say it's like 6 days a week doing that. So the long haul, doing music. And then I have my coaching business as well. So I do that. You know, I've got, that's like 2 times a week. So I've got 2 groups that I'm running. Starting a third one in February now, which I'm really excited about. So I've always thought music as a job, just as if, you know, if you're trained to be an electrician, I'm trained to be a musician. And that's what I do. I do music things. All right, Enzo, have a nice sleep. And thank you. I really, you know, it's great that you're kind of coming along and engaging on these. It's brilliant. I really appreciate the questions and your input. It makes the job of like sitting here and talking a lot easier. So it's brilliant. And it's great that you're getting loads out of it, and same with everybody else. Coming home to do music after a long day of doing music, yes. So, I mean, fundamentally, I'm doing what I want to do is I'm wanting to obviously do what I'm doing now, talking about music. But what I always really do, my default position, is to wake up and do music in the morning. So my heavy lift of my own creativity is always done first thing. And that's simply because I know that when I get in from a long day, my attention span's not going to be at its best. Usually, though, when I wake up in the morning and I'm doing an idea and I'm excited for music, when I come in, you know, there's still time and there's still energy for me to do things, which I do. So I'm always doing music, whether it's like I'm practicing or whether I'm writing another idea, or because I've got lists of things, I might, when I'm tired, I might just go to an area of the machine where it's more concrete binary thinking. So more yes-no kind of easy, sort of less super creative, demanding tasks. And I'll do sort of low demand stuff. So that's another thing to do if you're writing all your ideas. You've got high demand and you've got low demand activities. So if you're tired, you can do low demand stuff and still be moving forward. I mean, the problems start is when you don't have a plan, okay? And you're not making decisions and you just fall headfirst into your music and just whatever, and there's no direction or clear thinking or anything. That's when you just start making bits of music that you hate and filling your hard drive full of unfinished ideas. I really appreciate Tim. Thank you, my friend. Have a great day. Excellent. Okay, do you think people who do not think music as a job are broke? I've got no idea. No, I think some of them have just probably got tons of money, and probably wonder what musicians make money. Who's paying for that? Or the assumption is that you've got a massive record deal and you must be worth absolutely millions. So I don't know. I don't know what people think. Yeah, I haven't got a lot to say on that one, really. Just music is, it's a high value. Trust me, right? When you get it going, and you're imparting knowledge and you're teaching and you're coaching, music's a high value skill. People will pay good money for that. Just think, right? I mean, just think about what I'm talking about, on these broadcasts, and it is a broadcast, and all the things I've got written down in my journal. It's a journal, yeah. Not a notebook, it's a journal. All of that stuff goes across the board of creativity, all right? So, if I would imagine any job, and I think everything that we do in our lives creative anyway, you can apply this knowledge. You can apply this is what's exciting about it, why music is a high. When you break it down like this, anybody can use this, can't they? Like what Tim was saying, his daughter's a graphic designer. She can use that. You can use it in visual art. You could be a plumber setting up a new business, right? To go into window cleaning, and you could use this knowledge because creating a new business is being creative, isn't it? It's creativity by definition, right? Okay, it's not something that belongs to artists and musicians and writers and poets. It's not. Creativity is just simply a method of operation to solve problems. And we all need to focus. We all need to have good habits. We all need to be working in the correct environment. We all need to know about the difference between insight and analysis. We all need to know how to deal with fear. So when we're going into an unknown situation in life, okay, not just a creative situation, like when I leave this door going into the unknown, that fear, uncertainty, we need to know how to deal with that. We need to know when we're bored of something, rather than just quitting, knowing that we're bored and we need to do something about it. So how do we do that? We still need to develop our skills, okay? So we still need to constantly upgrade our skills. So, we're delivering the best possible quality of what we're doing, okay? In the most unexpected ways. And we definitely need to know about our community and our tribe. So here you guys are all into like the stuff that I'm talking about, because you obviously get some sort of identification of it and hopefully use that in your own lives. So I have a very small but brilliant community that come here to hear what I'm talking about, and who are interested in what they can learn from my approach to music, hopefully. And that's why your guys are there. So it's understanding what your community is and who your audience is. So we need to know about all those things. We are all dreamers. We're all realists and creators. We're all critics and we're all connectors. We've got those three things in three-role theory. That is all of us. Doesn't matter what job. If I could be working in a bank, right? And I'd still have to be a dreamer, realist and creator. We need some crazy ideas, that everything's going to crash, right? We need to think of how we're going to make more money here when there isn't any money. So people are going to have to dream, and people are going to have to be realist, and people are going to have to create, and people are going to have to make some sort of connection with those ideas to the outside world so everybody else can benefit. Sorry, I'm getting up on my soapbox here, but it is important because music is a great teacher of life, and you can apply this. And this is why I have the job doing what I'm doing in health, is because people can apply this knowledge and practice it in a lovely creative environment of music and art, and then start wondering and thinking how this can be applied to live a better life. Therefore, my whole ACE, my authentic core experience, how I help people is getting people from a state of isolation to aspiration. And we all have that. We can all be lonely, and I'm a producer on my own. Oh no, I've got my own problems. I'm kind of special because nobody else will understand these problems. No, that's not the case. We all have the same problems. And it's getting that identification and going, all right, okay, all I have to do is this. Other people have these struggles. And actually, we all have problems. And what we're doing is we're just exchanging rubbish problems for much better problems. And that's what this is for the next month or so. This is what I'm talking about. So this is all the things I do so I can live not just a great music life, but just in general, a better life. Yeah. So, and there's a lot more of this, like, happening. We're talking about, I'm just having a look down the list. Yeah, so we've got, over the next sort of few days, we're going to be talking about the next one, actually, which will be Monday. We'll be talking about fear. And then on Tuesday, it'll be boredom. Wednesday, it'll be the studio chill out session. And then we'll be talking about boredom on Thursday and skills on Friday. And I think there'll be another chill out session this Sunday as well. And then the following week, maybe Saturday, McRock and Hutch. So I'm hitting the live thing hard here. I am. I'm enjoying it. So anyway, I think that's me coming to an end. And I've said my thing at the end, which is good. And I'll see you all the Sunday morning-ish, about 11 o'clock. For something I'll be doing on the live. I'll be doing something. I know I'm going to be playing guitar, actually. That's what I'm going to be doing. So anyway, have a great weekend, everybody, and thank you. I really appreciate everybody kind of, tuning in and listening to this, and hopefully getting lots of ideas and stuff for themselves and being super creative, because that's what it's all about, isn't it? So great. I'll see you Sunday. Bye.